I had just driven back to my cabin, dust still hanging in the air behind the rearview mirror. Only two things were on my mind: shutting off the AC that was roaring like a jet engine and pouring myself a tall glass of iced tea. Peace and quiet, or so I thought. Then, bam, a police siren tore through the silence like a bad EDM drop. I hadn't even unbuckled my seatbelt when two patrol cars crawled up the narrow dirt road, tires crunching gravel in a way that sent chills down my spine. An older officer clutched a map, frowning like he was on some treasure hunt, while the younger one gripped his radio like he was about to call in the entire SWAT team. I leaned out the window, forcing a friendly smile. "Nice afternoon, huh? Anything I can help you with?" But instead of a greeting, the young cop barked. "We got a report of an illegal trespasser in the area. And that trespasser is you." I froze for a second, then laughed out loud. Trespassing? On the cabin I built myself, with every log and every drop of sweat? I slid off my sunglasses, opened the car door, stepped out, and pointed across the road. "Let me guess. The curly-haired neighbor with the giant clipboard, right? Little early to be calling it trespassing, considering this land." I paused, locking eyes with them. "Belongs to me." The two officers looked at each other, stunned. I just sighed. In my head, I thought, "Well, Karen, looks like your little show has officially begun." The woman I just mentioned, yes, the side character of this story, is my neighbor. Petite, tiny frame, curls springing off her head like loaded slinkies, and of course, her ultimate weapon, a clipboard almost as big as Captain America's shield. If a clipboard were a crown, she'd have crowned herself queen of the entire HOA kingdom. The first day I moved into my cabin was when I met her. I had just popped open my trunk, still fumbling with a suitcase, when she marched over. No smile, no welcome to the neighborhood, not even a hint of curiosity about who I was. The very first words out of her mouth, sharp enough to make me think I'd committed a felony, were, "You can't park here. This community has strict rules. Guests who aren't residents have to leave their cars outside the gate." I turned, still wearing my sunglasses, luggage bag in hand, and just laughed. "Well, hello there, neighbor. I haven't even carried my suitcase inside yet." Karen narrowed her eyes, scanning me like an airport x-ray, her voice slicing like a blade. "I don't know who you are. This is a gated community. We have an HOA. We have rules." I slung the bag over my shoulder, keeping my tone calm and polite. "Yep, I'm aware. In fact, I'm the one who signed most of the land lease contracts for this place." The air thickened instantly. Karen froze for a beat, face turning crimson, then spun on her heel as if staying another second might make her spontaneously combust. At the time, I thought that was the end of it. Just an awkward introduction, nothing more. But with someone like Karen, that was only episode 1. And tiny spoiler, the next episode, the drama explodes tenfold. I thought that after that tense-as-a-wire introduction, Karen would back off. Nope. 30 minutes later, the sirens blared again. The same two patrol cars rolled back in, this time the cops' eyes darting between wary and embarrassed. Turns out Karen had called again, reporting a dangerous stranger occupying the cabin. Dangerous, right? I just laughed, popped open the trunk, and handed them a stack of paperwork thick enough to pass as a dissertation. Deeds, maps, contracts. The officers skimmed through, nodded, then exchanged that look cops give each other when they realize, yep, another case of a self-appointed HOA sheriff. End of story? Not even close. The next morning, I stepped out onto my porch and found a giant crimson notice slapped across my gate. Unauthorized development under HOA investigation. Signed, Karen H. I carefully peeled it off, folded it up, and saved it like a souvenir. Most people would have been furious, but me, I was entertained. Episode 2 had just been released. But episode 3? That wasn't funny anymore. One afternoon, I came back from town and nearly stumbled over. Spray painted in huge red letters across my cabin door. Trespasser. My newly built garden fence? Flattened. My mailbox? Crushed like it had been run over by a truck. I stood there, staring at the wreckage, and only one thought ran through my head. Well played, Karen. If you've ever built something with your own hands, hammering every nail, pouring every slab of concrete, you'll get it. The pain wasn't about the wood or the fence. It was about my time, my sweat, my peace of mind being turned into a joke by someone wielding a clipboard. But I didn't scream, and I didn't march over to confront her. Instead, I pulled out my phone. I filmed the paint, photographed the footprints, cataloged every bit of damage like a CSI detective. Because I knew, sooner or later, all this evidence would come back to smack the self-crowned OOA queen right in the face. And sure enough, Karen dropped her next installment. Flyers everywhere, on lampposts, in mailboxes, even tucked under my windshield wiper. Each one showed a blurry, shaky photo of my cabin, clearly taken from behind the bushes, straight out of a horror movie. The caption screamed, "Emergency meeting, protect our community." I facepalmed and laughed. Protect the community? From who? From the actual landowner? Fine. If she wanted a show, I'd show up, but not empty-handed. I'd bring the deadliest weapon against a Karen, a thick, blood-red binder full of paperwork, and a tray of fresh cornbread. At exactly 5:59, I stood at Karen's doorstep, left hand carrying a tray of golden cornbread, right hand clutching a blood-red binder, thick as an encyclopedia. I didn't knock politely. I knocked like a guest of honor. And just as I expected, inside was a full-on, makeshift courtroom. 7 neighbors squeezed onto folding chairs, faces tight as if they were about to watch the Super Bowl. In the center of the room, Karen stood tall, clipboard in hand, passionately delivering her speech about the threat of an outsider illegally building a cabin. Her voice boomed like a public announcement system. We must protect our community. We cannot let a stranger break our rules. The door opened. I stepped in, smiling. Sorry for being right on time. I brought cornbread for everyone and a few small documents. The air froze. Karen stiffened, eyes wide like someone had yanked her mic's plug. I set the cornbread in the middle of the table, then slowly spread out a massive land survey map. This, I said, is the official plat map from the county office. As you can see, this entire area, the road, the lake, even some of the lots where your houses sit, belongs to my company, and that company has exactly one shareholder, me. A woman in the corner stammered. Even my house? I nodded. Yes, they're all long-term leases. Perfectly fine, as long as nobody violates the terms. I turned toward Karen, my tone still calm as a breeze. Unfortunately, someone here has broken at least 3. 1, erecting a fence across the boundary line. 2, blocking a shared road. 3, hosting a community meeting on private property without permission. Karen's face flushed crimson, her hands trembling around the clipboard. She snapped, "You're threatening us with paperwork. This is a community. We have rights." I smiled and flipped to the page with her signature. You're right. You do have rights. The right to follow the contract. And right here, under your own name, it states, any changes require the landowner's written consent, which in this case is me. A chuckle broke out from the back of the room. Then the glances started to shift. Not suspicion toward me anymore, but confusion aimed squarely at Karen. I closed the binder, pushed the tray of cornbread toward them. I'm not here for conflict. I just want peace. If everyone respects the boundaries, I'll be the best neighbor you've ever had. Now then, who wants cornbread? I turned and walked out, leaving behind a room heavy with silence. Karen frozen like a statue, cheeks blazing red, and the neighbors suddenly realizing the so-called outsider was, in fact, the one holding the entire chessboard. I honestly thought that after the whole cornbread plus red binder meeting, the saga was over. But if you've ever met a true Karen, you know. They never accept defeat in the previous episode. They always have to pull a final boss move. And sure enough, the very next morning, the dirt road leading to my cabin had turned into a miniature battlefield. A heavy chain stretched between 2 pines, with a bright red wooden sign dangling from it. Residents only, no trespassing. Bold capital letters, blood red, the kind of thing you'd expect outside a military zone. And of course, who stood nearby, arms folded like she'd just won the championship game? Yep, Karen, the clipboard queen herself. I stopped the car, took in the scene, and laughed. Not the cheerful kind of laugh, more the, okay, so that's how you want to play it laugh. I didn't cut the chain. I didn't argue. I simply pulled out my phone, filmed everything, snapped photos of every angle, then calmly turned the car around. Because I knew the real finale was coming. That afternoon, I made a round of phone calls. A property dispute lawyer, the county land office, the sheriff's department, and a tow service specializing in removing illegal barriers. In other words, I was assembling my cameo cast for the grand finale. The following noon, I returned to the blockade. But this time, I wasn't alone. Beside me stood 2 sheriff's deputies, a land surveyor, a county resources officer, and a tow truck driver with a gleaming hard hat. I sipped from a steaming cup of coffee, unbothered, while Karen stormed out of her house, face blazing red like a tomato thrown at a Spanish festival. "You can't be here without the residents' permission," she shrieked, jabbing a trembling finger at me. One of the deputies stepped forward, voice calm, almost scripted. "Ma'am, this road is the lawful property of Mr. Holton. Erecting an unauthorized barrier is a violation of both the lease agreement and local law." Karen staggered, then turned on me, voice cracking. "You're abusing your power. You're threatening me." I set my coffee cup on the hood of my truck, pulled a sealed envelope from my jacket, and handed it out. "This is a notice of lease termination. You have 30 days to vacate. After that, the sheriff's office will enforce it under state law." The crowd fell silent. Karen backed away, pale, stammering. You can't do this." I looked straight at her, smiled calmly, and said, "I can, and I just did." The deputy nodded in confirmation, while the surveyor added, "Documents are valid. If any further barriers appear, Mr. Holton has full contractual authority to enforce removal." From a distance, a nervous neighbor spoke up. "Wait, does that mean even the road to the fishing lake is?" I turned, gave a single nod. The lake, the trail, the woods, all of it. Every gaze immediately shifted away from Karen. No more support, no more sympathy, only silence. A silence so heavy it made her clutch her clipboard tighter, as if it were the last scrap of power she had left. I picked my coffee back up, took another sip, and thought, game over, Karen. 2 weeks later, Karen was gone. No sirens, no scarlet flyers, no more emergency meetings. Just a moving truck stuffed with cardboard boxes rolling out of the neighborhood, and her house across the way left sitting in a strange, quiet stillness. Some said she moved to another state. Others whispered she'd hired a lawyer to sue. Me? I just sat on my cabin porch, sipping a cold beer, listening to the wind sift through the pines, and didn't care. Because from the day Karen left, I finally had what I'd come here for: peace. The scene was simple. Sunset bleeding gold through the forest, ducks landing on the lake sending ripples across the water. On the table lay the book I'd abandoned weeks ago, next to a frosty glass of beer. No clipboard flashing from behind the bushes, no fake "no trespassing" signs strung across the road, no smear flyers accusing me of crimes. Just the cabin, the woods, the lake, and silence sweeter than the smoothest jazz record. Some people told me I went too far, that I should have let it go, kept the peace. But I see it differently. When someone turns nonsense into law, then real law has to show up at the right time. I never built fences, never screamed, never rallied neighbors against each other. I just laid out facts and a stack of papers with signatures and seals, and that was enough. What about you? Ever had your own HOA Karen? The self-appointed ruler, pointing fingers, inventing rules out of thin air? If you have, drop your story in the comments below. I'll read them all. And who knows, maybe your tale will become the next episode. And hey, if you thought this deed smackdown was sweet enough, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next time a fake HOA gets roasted hotter than ghost peppers in the Arizona desert. As for me, I'll be right here, finishing my book, finishing my beer, and smiling at one simple truth. When you own the land, Karen is, at the end of the day, just another guest.